Okay, so today we are going to wallpaper the Scooby Doo house. I was thinking I might want to do the floors, but I think it'd be a little easier to do the wallpaper first. So what I'm going to do is, let me see, this room up here was going to be a bedroom. And what I really wanted for that was this pink striped wallpaper. And this is just scrapbook paper. It's actually a bigger piece than that. That piece I've already got cut, but I've got enough to do that room, I think. Um, this is going to be a bathroom. I think I'm going to just paint the walls in that room, sort of like how some of the backgrounds look in Scooby Doo. And I'll try to post a picture here. Sometimes I say I'm going to post a picture and I forget that little step, and there it's like, oh, pointing to a picture that's not actually there. But hopefully I'll remember to do that in this clip. And then these two rooms, this one's going to be the office or like the library room. This is where I want to put that bookcase later. And then this is going to be like a living room area. And then down below is the kitchen and the dining room. I really want a kitchen and a dining room because there's always a lot of scenes that take place in Scooby Doo where they go in a kitchen. So that's kind of a must for a Scooby Doo house. And I've got this paper here that's got a really cool look to it. I'm not sure. I don't want to go too fancy in the kitchen. That's going to be like a two-part, like the top half will be something and then the bottom half will be something different. That'll be the last one I work on. I've just got to decide. Well, first I need to see what paper I've got. I've got this brick, which I think would look really good on one of the kitchen walls. And again, this is just scrapbook paper from Hobby Lobby. I really like this green color. And I'm just going to basically cut these to fit the walls in each room after I decide. I've got to think about what's going in the room and what color I think will look good, and think about the rugs that will be in here. So I just got a lot to think about before I go to gluing these in. And then this one's purple. I just don't think it looks as purple on screen as it does in real life. So let me think about this and then I'll get it going. I gotta look at my rugs and stuff. Okay, so let's jump back up here. Now, the bedroom, again, is going to be that pink stripe. And then I've got this rug that's going to go in that room, so that will look good. The bathroom wall is just going to be painted. And down here in the office, I decided it's going to have this blue rug, which has just a little bit of a color that would look good with this green. I just think that would look, it'll look okay. Blue and green go well together, so I think that'll be all right. And then there's a color in that rug that sort of looks this shade. And then the purple across from that, purple and green look good together. It's going to have the same sort of blue rug in there. I just think that will look good. And then down here, this piece is real similar to that piece, so I didn't want them side by side. I just want to do sort of stagger these colors a little bit. And then that's what that wallpaper will look like. I think that one goes well with that rug. So that's how I'm going to do them. I'll just cut them out and get it going. And I'm going to use spray glue because I know the spray glue works well for paper on paper, but it also sticks almost instantly. So I just got to, just be relaxed while I'm doing it and get it in there the right way. So I've got 2 rooms done, and I thought I needed to do this, not on camera, where I can just relax and do it till I get the hang of it. And up here, I've purposely ripped it. I made sure that I ripped it before I glued it in because I just thought it would be easier to do that. instead of having it glued down, I just kind of went ahead and ripped where I wanted the holes to be so I didn't have to glue it to start with. Um, and then you can't really tell. There's like a little square here and then a little square here where I've had to piece it. And in real life, you can sort of see that, but not really. Plus, there's going to be pictures hanging on that wall. Um, and then it don't go all the way up, but that'll have trim later. This room looks really, really good, even the corners. And the way I got those corners to look so good is, let me show you sort of how I did that. Now up here in this room, I think I may do the same thing, but I just took a small piece about like this. Yeah, I mean, it needs to be as tall as the room, but I just took a piece like that and just folded it. I made sure I folded that perfectly down the middle, and I just sort of made a little corner piece like that to go in the corner before I put the wallpaper in, and that just really filled the corners up really pretty, which is what I did down here. And then I put the actual square piece in there. So that just made like a really nice seamless look, because it's really hard to get it in the corners, especially if your rooms aren't perfectly square. So that just really helps to put a little piece like that in the corner before you do the actual wallpaper. So I'm going to do a piece, and I've got that corner piece in, I've got the back wall in, and if you can see, I'm just going to push that bottom right up along the bottom edge, the bottom of the wall, and I'm just going to, now watch me not do this as well as I've been doing it. So I'm pushing the bottom against the bottom of the wall, and I want to come out this way a little bit. I'm trying to line it up with this side here. Okay. And then just boop, there it goes. Now I'm going to take this big dry brush and just sort of press it against there. And it's just as easy as that. And that looks amazing. I'm so excited with how that went on. It's just super, super easy. It's a little nerve-wracking. I was a little shaky going up with that piece, and I think it's just because I'm videoing, but these other pieces have been going up so much better. But that looks so good. So that little corner piece just makes all the difference. I mean, it would not have lined up so pretty if I hadn't done that little corner piece, but that is definitely the key to this. And let me pull you over here a little bit. You can see I've got that little corner piece there. Now I will have to piece it here. And another good thing about this wallpaper is the busier the wallpaper, the better it matches, even if you don't cut them perfect. Like I can sort of take this. I'm not going to do this for real, but like if I was, I'm just going to sort of give an example. Let me hold it up the same way. It's just really easy to match that up. I mean, I didn't even cut that or nothing. You can just sort of randomly put that wherever and it'll just sort of match, because it's just such a busy pattern. And once you get a lot of little furniture, and I could actually use that piece. I'm just going to use that piece. I can make it a little not as wide, but that actually fits pretty well. I'll just stick that whole big piece there, because it looks like if you follow the pattern, it doesn't match all the way down. But once I get all the furniture in here, you're not going to know it. But that looks so good. I'm actually just going to go with that. Now, another thing you always want to do is you always want to dry fit that. Like before you put any glue on the back, you want to just stick that up there and make sure it fits. And that fits better than any other piece that I've cut so far. That is just so perfect. So I'm going to spray that and just stick that one on there. That looks so good. So just always dry fit it before. Okay, so here's where we are. I've got these two walls done, but I didn't have enough to do this wall. I think I'm just going to paint that one. And then down here in the kitchen, you can't really tell, but that's the little brick paper And then this wall and this wall, I'm going to paint. I'm probably going to paint it halfway up and then do like a wainscoting at the bottom. Um, and then the next two rooms up, they got completely wallpapered on all three sides, so they're really good. One thing I didn't think about till this was all done, which it don't really make any difference, but I have not put any windows in, so I'm going to knock in some windows, but I'm going to wait because I may try to buy some actual dollhouse windows instead of trying to make those. Um, and then I added a little wall here, and I used some of the gray paper in the bottom room for the hallway. Like this is going to be like a little hallway area, and I had enough to do this wall and a little bit for that wall. And you can see where a piece has been ripped off, but that's completely fine for this house. There's going to be more rips in it, to look more haunted and stuff. This room got done, and of course I love how I've ripped that part, and I'll of course I'll age all this, but I'm going to wait till I get the floors and the trim before I try to age it. And then this room I'm going to paint, and this back wall in the hallway I'm going to paint it just a solid black just to give it some more depth. Um, and then there's a lot going on up here in the attic. Of course, I did the ceilings earlier, and then I've done the walls sort of the same as I did the ceilings and the floor. I'll get a better look at that, so I'm going to change my camera so you can see what I've done up here. So up here, I already had the ceilings done, but I've done the wall just with some pieces of cereal box, and then I did the floor to, just look the same. And then I've gone ahead and put trim up because all this is going to get the same brown Mod Podge color. And then added this little piece of foam here. This is just some of that thicker foam board you get at like a hardware store. I've just cut a little square out of that to make like a little beam. I actually had that left over from the Hocus Pocus house. So I just put a little beam there to help support this part here. And that again will all get that same brown Mod Podge color. So I'm going to paint up these walls down here and paint all this up, and then show a couple more little things, and then I think that'll be about it for today. But I'm going to get this painted real quick and then explain what I've done with that.
All right, so here it is sitting in my window on the shelf where I said I originally wanted this to go. And it looks pretty good, and it actually fits that shelf perfectly. I mean, I hadn't even measured the shelf. I was just kind of eyeballing, or, I didn't even remember like where this was going to go. So, I mean, I'm just lucky that it actually fits on that shelf. So, I do have all the wallpaper in. I trimmed around the bottom and the top of each room, and I even went ahead and did the floor. That is just done with strips of poster board, some poster board, and some cereal box. Now I'll get closer looks at this. Um, the pink wall up here in the top, I kind of went over that with some black watered down paint, which kind of wrinkled the paper, but that's okay since this is supposed to be like a haunted Scooby Doo house. Now, none of you would want that to happen because it looks terrible, but if you're doing like an abandoned house or a haunted house, it works, so I'm not worried that it did that. And this wall up here, I just painted with one coat of paint, and it looks really rough, but I love how that looks. It just kind of looks like the walls did in some of the Scooby Doo episodes. I'm not going to do another coat of paint on that one. Um, I did just a very, very little black in the corner here. You can sort of see that black. I'm going to do that to the entire room. I'm going to just take some black acrylic paint and dry brush everything in this house, the floors, the walls, and the ceilings and everything. Um, but it'll be really tricky, but I'm going to go ahead and work on that and get that done. that'll just really help make it look a little more spooky looking, a little more haunted instead of just such clean walls. I think these walls down here are just way too clean looking, and I really do like the way the pink wall looked. And then every time I put my hand up there, it gets out of focus. But I think it's looking really good so far, and I'll get better looks at this later. And then up there in the attic, I did the floor in there. So we'll get a better look at all these rooms here in a little bit. I've took some beige color and I'm just dry brushing along the floor. That's just where you get a very little bit of paint on your brush and you just kind of drag it along the grain of, the paper, um, or whatever direction, you want your boards. You just always want to kind of go the grain of the wood. So that's kind of what I've done all over. Now, I ain't done this down here yet because I had to go over and paint this brown. But once that's dry, I'll dry brush it with the lighter colors. And I've even got it up on the walls back here. As you can see, I'll put a little paint on the brush. I probably don't have enough on it, but just really, really small amounts of paint on the brush. And you just want to work it in. I don't really have enough on there to really show much, but wherever you put it, you just want to make sure you just do this and work it in real good and kind of, you want to work it into like the corners and around the baseboards, and don't forget the top. I'll have to go around the top of it. Just make it look like there's been some leaks in the house or whatever. Just a lot of dirt has built up. But I'll do this dry brushing in a couple of colors. And then even take some of my darker brown and hit some spots. Like if I don't want too much in there, I can just take and tone it down a little bit. But that's what I'll do. And then once this is done, I'm going to go over and do a lot of the heavier aging with like straight up black. Like I probably won't water it down or anything, but just take the black in the corners and just really, really work it in there and shade the corners and stuff. And that'll also give it more dimension and make the room seem a little bigger, just because it makes your eye kind of, hopefully it'll make it look like it's kind of going back further. Okay, so I'm going to show you how I kind of do this. I mean, I'm getting very little on the brush. Sometimes I get too little and I have to go back and put a little bit more on it. But this is what I've got so far. I'm just kind of randomly hitting the walls. Now this, I don't know how I really feel about it. When you do black, it's a very dark, I mean, it is the darkest color. So it gets really, really scary to do this with a black. But I'm just getting a very little bit on the brush. It almost looks like I don't even have any on the brush. And I'm just working it in to the top. And that is very harsh. I mean, that's a very harsh contrast there. And if you think it's too much, you can maybe blend it down a little bit. See, I don't want to see, that didn't do nothing. It's a little too dry. But I mean, I'm okay with how that looks. I mean, it ain't, probably, some of you are probably thinking, oh, you're ruining those walls. But to me, it looks spooky. I like how it looks. But it's just something you've got to practice with and work with. This is a little more extreme than what I normally do. I've never done anything this dark, but I think it's going to work. I think this is going to look really good once I get it done. And if you don't like the black, up here, that brown looks really good. That brown looks more natural, like a stain on a wall, than what the black does. The black looks a little too fake, but it's kind of cartoonish. So I'm okay with it. You know, again, with a Scooby Doo theme, I don't think it's really wrong. And I'm not going to go around the entire wall. I'm just going to kind of hit certain spots. And I definitely want to darken the corners because, again, I just feel like that gives it dimension. So I'm just going to kind of randomly hit places, but I may not get every corner. I just want to, I don't know, I'm just going to kind of play around with it and see what I like. And also in the camera, I'm noticing, I'm looking back and forth, it's way more bold than it is in real life. So, and see, that might be all I do in that corner. So it's just subtle in some places and really kind of too much in others, kind of like back here. But I mean, I'll just keep working with it till I get it the way I like it. And it's just something that is so scary to do. You'll definitely kind of mess up certain places doing this, but I don't know if I can really go wrong with it being a haunted house. I guess it'll be okay. So anyway, I'm going to keep doing this and come back to you.
All right, so for that little attic space that I did last time, I've got these little tiny bat buttons. And what I want to do is hang those little bats in the attic. So I'm going to take a piece of wire and just put it through the bat. These little bat buttons happen to work out perfect because they've got them holes in them, and I can just wire them like that. I'm going to twist that wire so it don't come off. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little bit of wood glue and fill the holes up so you don't see the hole in it, and then just kind of lightly paint over it so you don't see any of that. But those are going to hang from the ceiling in the attic space. And I've got 5 of those. All right, so here's what they look like after I got the glue on them, and I'll let that dry and then get those painted black, and then I just have to blow on them just a little bit to get that glue to kind of go down in those little grooves. And it looks pretty good. It looks better than having the little light shine through them. But I'll paint those up and get them installed into the roof of the attic. And all I'm going to do for that is just poke a hole through there with a needle and then just run that little wire up through the roof. And I'm actually going to let the wire stay sticking out on the outside and just fold it over.
All right, so I've done a little carpentry work. This shelf was bowing a little, like it was such a long shelf that it was swagging in the middle. So I cut a board to go right under there, and I've got that leveled up now because I didn't want that to be doing that, but I definitely didn't want it to do that while the house is sitting on it because it will cause the house to warp. So anyways, I've got my dry brushing done the way I like it. It is completely done now. The only thing I need to do is trim out the windows, which I didn't mention earlier, but I got 2 windows cut out. Now the doors, there's going to be 2 doors. There's going to be one in this wall here, which will make it to where I'll have to have a door like trimmed out on each side of that wall. But that's going to actually be the only door. And we'll talk more about doors and windows later. But I've got it all trimmed and aged and everything exactly how I want it. So this is pretty much how it's going to look. Now the only thing that's bothering me are those windows. I'm going to really want to get those trimmed out soon. And I am going to glue this to a thicker base just so the bottom ain't just a thin piece of foam board. I'm going to work on that in a little bit. And I've got these big clamps that I'm going to actually just clamp it flat to that shelf that it's sitting on so that it can be held together to whatever I glue to the bottom. And I'm gonna crank up my little tripod just to get a different angle. Whoops. All right, so then there's the little attic. Oh yeah, and we need to check out those bats a little bit better, because I stuck that little clip in here where we showed me doing that. So I'll show those a little bit better here in a second. But I like how it's all turned out. It looks way better. That dark black that's in places, it was driving me kind of insane. Like I kind of wasn't loving it, but again, I'm going to say this a lot during this project. If you look at the cartoon, the backgrounds are really crude and really uh, grungy looking. Like it's really dark and dirty, the houses they go in and stuff. I mean, this to me is looking so much like those original backgrounds and those little scenes that you see in the cartoon. So I do love how it's looking. Oh yeah, and what I was going to say is the black. At first I was thinking it looked good, but I was also not liking it. So I just went away from the project altogether. Just took a break, done some other stuff, and came back to it, and I absolutely love it. I really love how this wood looks up here. Well, not wood, but the it's supposed to look like wood, but that too looks so much like a Scooby Doo cartoon. I like the coloring so far. I think it's just all looking really good. Now, this little space here is supposed to be a hallway, and I kind of want it to look like it's going into the distance, like that's a long hallway. I don't know. I'm thinking about putting a mirror there. I need to do some sort of a trick perspective, like where it makes it look like it's going off into the distance. And I think my best bet would to be to use a mirror, or maybe cut a new ceiling and angle it downwards and maybe do the walls angled. I don't know yet, but we'll play with that a little more in another episode. But I guess that's all we're going to look at today. I hope you enjoyed this part of the video, and when we come back, I guess I'll have that little window trimmed out and we'll actually start putting some things in the house. Now, before I do that, actually, I want to put as far as the outside, I'm going to flip it around. Because you have not seen the outside. Now, there is a little shelf, and I'm going to use this jar so you can sort of see how deep that shelf is. That's going to become a little porch area or something later. I want to cover this whole part back here with cardboard, so I'll be working on that before the next video. So everything on the outside, the sides, this whole back, and the top, all of it's going to get a layer of cardboard. Just cut out the same parts and just glue them on there, so I'll have that done. But I will wrap this video up, and I'll see you in the next one. Well, the last two things I want to show real quick was these little bats where I'd put in here, and they are just attached to those wires that go all the way out the roof up here, but I just folded those down flat to the roof, and the shingles will cover those. So I love how those look, and we'll add some more little decorations in there later, like maybe a trunk or something. And then the next thing I want to show before I go was the kitchen area. I didn't really get to finish talking about that. All right, so in the kitchen area, I just wanted to sort of show a close-up, or a little better close-up of the wall. I just went over that with some poster board and these little squares I did. I'm going to turn the light off. I think it'll show a little bit better. It just looks more like some fancy woodwork going on down there. And the little squares are just like cereal box. And then I trimmed it out at the top and the bottom with the foam board strips. But that just looks really good. I just wanted something a little fancier, just so all the walls weren't so plain. But I did that, and then you'll see the before part, like before I painted that, you'll see that in the pictures. It'll have like that yellow poster board down there and stuff. but I just wanted to sort of show that a little bit closer before I go on to forgetting to show that.